the Washtenaw County Road Commission for our October the 20th virtual board meeting. Before we start the meeting, there are a few housekeeping items to cover. Number one, if you would like to make public comment during this meeting, we will prompt you at the appropriate time in the agenda to virtually raise your hand. If you are viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the Participants button at the bottom of your screen and then the Raise Hand button at the bottom right of your screen. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. Once we get to the public comment section on the agenda, we will unmute participants with raised hands, one at a time. The chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our IT manager will help you troubleshoot. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. I'll say that again. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded as we speak. A link to the video will be posted to wcroads.org in the coming days. Today's meeting agenda is posted on wcroads.org, and there is a link available in the chat if you are joining us from your computer. Emily, sidebar question here. Have we gained any commissioners?
No, we've gained 2 county commissioners, but none of the road commissioners. I think they must still be having some issues.
I believe that Barb may have called, is maybe on the phone.
Oh, here's Barb coming in right now.
Okay.
I think we have Barb here, Commissioner Fuller, if we want to keep going, or I haven't heard anything
No,
about.
I am going to keep going as soon as I hear that Barb is with us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, Barb, now I see you too.
Yay!
Goody. We have gone through the preliminary conversation, so I'm about to call the meeting to order here.
Okay.
Roll call for attendance. Doug will call the roll to identify commissioners and directors. Each commissioner present needs to identify where they are physically sitting. Currently speaking is Chairman Doug Fuller in Scioto Township. Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Barb Fuller connecting remotely to this meeting, Sharon Township, Washtenaw County, Michigan.
Thank you. Commissioner Rod Green.
Good afternoon. I'm Roderick Green. I am in Superior Township, Washtenaw County, Michigan.
Thank you. Commissioner Yamas, are you with us?
She is?
Yes. Finally, thank you.
You want to give
there
us
we
your
go.
location, Gloria?
Oh, yep. Gloria Yamas, Washtenaw County, Pittsfield Township.
Thank you.
Connected virtually, barely.
Commissioner McCullum.
I'm in Washtenaw County, Ypsilanti Township, and I'm connecting virtually.
Thank you. Managing Director Siddell.
Present.
County Highway Engineer Mac Donnell.
Here.
Director of Operations, Mr. Harmon.
Present.
Director of Finance, Mr. Ackerman.
Here.
Thank you. It is our standard practice to begin our board meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Since we are hosting this meeting virtually today, instead, we will start this meeting with a moment of silence. Today's moment of silence is to honor everyone impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, including the teachers and parents working hard to educate our children and keep them healthy during this challenging year. And now I would like to have a motion to approve the agenda.
Chairman, I move that the agenda be approved as presented.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. That requires a roll call vote. Commissioner Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner McCollum,
yes.
and Doug Fuller votes yes. So we now have an agenda. And the first item on that agenda is the acceptance of minutes. We have two sets of minutes to consider today. The first of which is the board meeting minutes, of October the 6th, 2020. Could I have a motion on those minutes, please, so we could discuss them if we need to?
I motion that we accept the board meeting minutes of October 6, 2020.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Does anyone have any comments about those minutes? Additions, subtractions, corrections?
No.
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I don't hear anyone else saying they do, so we will move on to a roll call vote on the motion. Commissioner Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner McCollum,
Yes.
and Doug Fuller votes yes. Those minutes have been accepted as presented. Then we have on page 14 in my board packet, the closed session minutes for October the 6th, 2020. Could I have a motion on those minutes, please?
I move acceptance of the closed session minutes of October 6th, 2020, but I will point out that they are not in the board packet. They were sent as a separate item.
Oh, they are in my board packet on page 14 and 15. Okay.
Oh, I apologize. I see them now. My mistake.
Okay, thank you. I was going to say I looked at them several times today. So anyway, with that in mind, I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Commissioner Fuller.
Yes.
One correction, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Chair.
I'm listening.
Yes. The closed session minutes indicate that I was absent. I was actually there. I actually made the motion to go into the closed session.
Okay.
That's what it says, Commissioner Green.
You're absolutely correct. And okay, so we have a correction.
Mhm.
So I would like to have the person making the motion initially to note that correction.
I do note the correction in terms of the roll call vote accounting. The actual motion shows that R. Green moved, Jake McCullum seconded, but then it lists R. Green as absent.
Yes, I concur. So
So I will accept that correction.
thank you. Commissioner Green, you were about to second that, I think, or did someone else?
I do second it.
Okay. Will the person making the second note that correction as well?
Yes.
Thank you. So Commissioner Green, Barb Fuller votes yes, I believe. Would you confirm that,
Yes.
Barb? Okay,
Yes.
then we'll move on to Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Doug Fuller votes yes. So those minutes have now been accepted as corrected. Then I have the distinct pleasure to ask one of the commissioners to read the retirement resolution of public service for Mr. Selter.
On what page?
It's actually 15A.
Okay, I'd be glad to read that. 15A?
That's where I put it in my book. It says retirement resolution of public service for Jeffrey Selter.
Well, Jeff, no reflection on you, but I don't have it either.
That's all right. As long as it comes
Oh,
through.
why?
Okay, so I found it, it is actually on
I was going to say it was
page 18. So the
okay.
proposed,
Well, it's actually unnumbered, but okay. So if you found it, and I do believe it was in everybody's packet.
yes. Packet
Boy,
on
we're
page-
really looking sharp
Yes.
today.
Well,
Okay. So whereas Jeffrey Lee Shelter has served as a valuable full-time employee of the Washtenaw County Road Commission from July 31st, 1986 through October 21st, 2020, and has elected to retire on October 21st, 2020, woot woot, enjoy time with his family and friends. And whereas Jeffrey Lee Selter has provided more than 34 years of knowledge and experience as a heavy truck driver, group leader, signal technician, which has greatly benefited the Road Commission, the citizens of Washtenaw County, and the traveling public. And whereas in having provided 34 years of faithful service and valuable service to the Washtenaw County Road Commission, his experience and knowledge will be greatly missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Washtenaw County Board of County Road Commissioners, thank and acknowledge and commend Jeffrey Lee Selter for his dedicated service and wish him continued good health, happiness, and success in all his future endeavors. Congratulations.
all right, thank you.
And Selter Farms gains from our loss. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, 2020.
yeah, really. You're to remember.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeff, thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you.
More time to practice your trumpet now, right?
That's in the works. I got
Excellent.
it on my agenda. You betcha. Yep.
Those of you may not know, Jeff's a very accomplished trumpet player. So
All right.
Yeah, we were talking this morning. We're going
Close
to
to my
miss
heart.
Jeff
I
greatly.
played trumpet myself. That's great.
All
Congratulations.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, he has a whole list of things to do. I believe he said he was putting a binder together of all the things he was going to do in his free time. I've had the pleasure of working with Jeff for over 20 years. And I've learned a lot from Jeff. He's worked in a variety of roles through our organization. Some of the things that we have done have been fun endeavors, such as the 100th anniversary celebration. And while neither of us were around when it founded, we certainly had a good time going through a lot of the history associated with that. But Jeff brings a great perspective to things. I've always appreciated his input, have listened to his wise words, and his presence will be sorely missed through this organization. It has been a wonderful time with you, Jeff, and appreciate everything that you've done for us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
I too echo that, Jeff. I really appreciate all your contributions. You will be greatly missed. And he's a heck of a baker as well. So your baked goods will be missed as well.
All right, we'll see what we can do about that. Let's swing by.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jeff, you any good at making pasties?
I've not tried that, but it's on the list.
Okay, all right.
I like to eat them for sure. Homemade, good stuff. Yeah, they're great.
Jeff, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Enjoy, Jeff.
Yes.
Oh, I certainly will. Thanks.
Moving on from that pleasant chore, this is the time we're going to move on to public comment. And this is the time set aside on our, set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allocated 3 minutes to address the board. Emily, do we have people that would like to address us at this point?
At this time, Commissioner, there is no one with their hand raised.
Okay. On page 16, and I don't know what the deal is, my board packet seemed very straightforward when I got it. On page 16 starts the written communication section. And I'd just like to know if any of the commissioners have any comments about the written communications that were presented to us today.
I have a comment on the letter sent from Supervisor Gary Whitaker.
That's him.
Yeah, it was, I appreciate him acknowledging when the public says something positive about the road commission, and he took the time to write a letter and put that in there. So I thought that was pretty good.
I concur. And to that very point, while we're there, and not to take up too much time on that, if my fellow commissioners are in agreement, I'd like to have the managing director take a shot at writing a little note from the commission, as well as from her, back to Salem Township, thanking the township and Mr. Whitaker for his little note to us.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that.
Barb?
Yes.
Would that be okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Green?
Yes, sir. Great idea.
Okay. Sounded like Joanne was on board. Gloria, is that okay with you?
Yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Are there other notes that people would like to make a comment on? Okay. We didn't have any public comment, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Could I have a motion on the consent agenda, please?
I move acceptance of the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 9.
I support.
Been moved and supported. Requires a roll call vote since we're having a virtual meeting today. Commissioner Barb Fuller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Doug Fuller votes yes as well. Moving on then to reports, and we'll start with the county commissioners. If they have any comments they'd like to make, this would be a wonderful time. Commissioners?
We have Commissioner
Don't
Fink with us.
have-
Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Sorry. I don't have a report today. Thank you.
Good to see you nevertheless.
Okay, and then we also have Commissioner Jamnick. Go ahead, Ruth Ann, you should be able to unmute yourself. We should be able to. Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Just want to say thank you to everybody for all that you're doing with all this interesting weather and season that we're having. A little challenging for sometimes for some people, but I see our commissioners' staffs out there doing their job that they always do. And I just appreciate everything that everyone in the office and those out on the road. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move on to road commissioners at that point. We'll start with Barb.
On October 16th of this year, I attended a session in conjunction with SEMCOG's General Assembly meeting. It was the session on broadband, and Ann Burns, who is head of geospatial technology at SEMCOG, presented an interactive data map regarding broadband coverage. Pretty sophisticated stuff, lots of layers you can turn on and off. Unfortunately, the information is not particularly accurate. It reflects the FCC's data, which, as has been stated previously, is grossly overreported in terms of broadband coverage. Also, comments were pervasive about the impact of COVID-19 on distance learning for the students, and a real concern about whether that's going to be changing and how are people supposed to park their kids in a parking lot outside a township hall if they don't have broadband at home to learn, and how do they do that all day? And a conversation with a gentleman that works for Ford. They're now told they're not coming back into the building until at least July of next year, and he has 4 kids in the Dexter schools. He says, what am I supposed to do? And I said, you know, we're working on it, but I don't have an answer for you. So the problem just continues to present itself as worse by the day, not only for kids trying to go to school, but for people trying to work from home, as well as individuals trying to take advantage of telehealth services. That's all I have to report. And that was all done virtually, as you might guess.
Commissioner Green. Thank you, Barb.
No report today, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Gloria?
I have no report.
Joanne?
Yes. I watched the Michigan Transportation Committee meeting on House Bill 5920. It creates a fundraising registration plate for sickle cell anemia and treatment. It's by Representative Ronnie Peterson, and it's on its way to Ways and Means Committee. It is a bill that it's not taxpayers would be paying for it. They would be raising $90,000 in funds. And once they raise the $90,000, then they can start producing the specialty plates. And the funds for those plates will be used to help with sickle cell anemia treatment. I also watched the Michigan Transportation Committee meeting on Senate Bill 379. It allows the use of organic additives to control ice on public roads. Individual road commissions can use these chemicals. It's a pilot program. They said salt destroys the roads and beet sugar products decrease the use of salt by 50%. It could be mixed with the salt brine. MDOT doesn't know the cost of the pilot yet, but benefits of the beets are sticky, which means that the product will stay on the roads longer. It's a lower freezing point and they use less salt brine. Frankenmuth is using it right now. The impact on wildlife, there's no impact on wildlife with it. And that was that. And then I watched on October 7th, I attended a virtual public hearing on Pleasant Lake Road Culvert Project. Very good virtual meeting, and the public had very good questions on it. On October 16th, I didn't have a Washtenaw County Parks and Rec, we didn't have a meeting, but I did receive information October 16th through email that the Parks and Rec is going to start on November 1st using the Mary Lou Murray building as an overnight shelter, because the Lonis shelter is overflowed and they need more space. So all other options fell through to help with the overflow. So we agreed to help with the Mary Lou Murray Center, and they're going to be staying in the gym overnight from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Limit access, primarily half of the gym. They will be able to use the restrooms, but no showers. And the cots will be set up and taken down each day, and the area will be cleaned thoroughly because of the make sure, with the COVID-19. And that's my report.
I have a question. Commissioner
Yes.
McCollum, was that a vote by the Park Commission to open the Mary Lou Murray for this purpose?
Coy asked if we were in agreement of it. So I don't know if that was an official vote or not. We were all in agreement of it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I appreciate the report. Let it be said that we are carefully monitoring, I think that would be a fairly neutral term, the use of alternative products, and certainly agricultural products, and certainly beet sugar products, which are near and dear the hearts of 5% of the growers in the state of Michigan, are something that are always under consideration. So thank you for that report. We'll move on from the, and I don't have anything I need to add at this particular point either. So we'll move on to the managing director's report. Cheryl?
Sure. In your board packet are the staff report. In addition, we have a communications report and then the WCRC Fix-It report for the month of September. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on that. In addition, as you are well aware, Senate Bill 1108 was signed into law on Friday, which allows us to continue the virtual meeting format with a few minor tweaks to how we have been previously conducting business. So we're trying to guide this board on what those changes are so that we continue to comply with this amendment to the Open Meetings Act. In addition, we did receive additional regulations from MIOSHA last week with respect to COVID protocols. It is essentially reinstating several of the executive orders that were previously in effect. So again, we're taking a thorough look through those that will require some minor modifications to our preparedness plan so that we can continue to comply with MIOSHA or whatever the current state of the protocols are for COVID. So there should be some minor changes associated with that coming soon. With that, do you have any questions for me before I hand it over to staff? All right, Jim, I know that we've been spending a lot of time with preparations for winter.
Good afternoon. Operation staff reports in the packet beginning on page 51 through page 55. That covers the period of September 28th through October 11th. Our projects are nearing completion. Provided the board with an updated table. Green is good, and we're rapidly approaching 100% completion of all of our work. Preparations for construction 2021 are ongoing. We're sourcing aggregate for next year's seal coat program and have taken delivery of several thousand tons already stockpiled throughout the county, specifically for the millage program. That's known, and should the board approve the additional recommended budget items for our own MTF funded seal coat, we'll certainly have aggregate available for that as well. Crews are performing routine maintenance now that they've transitioned out of construction and making tremendous headway despite the recent rain events. And with respect to winter, as Cheryl had brought up, our dry run equipment preparations are approximately 80% complete as of reports from the superintendents and foremen this morning, using a much more extended period in order to maintain social and physical distance while we're performing all of our other work activities. As you may recall, normally the last 2 weeks of October are heavily dedicated to dry run equipment preparation. Each crew is taken offline for a week, but for emergent conditions, emergent response. And in this instance, we've been able to spread it out over a 6-week period and reduce the number of people that would be in the garages preparing equipment at any given time. So that protocol has served us well. Happy to answer any questions that the road commissioners may have of me or the operations department.
I've got
Tim?
one.
Sorry. Did someone have their hand raised?
What'd you say, Joanne?
Did someone have their hand raised? You said someone had a question?
I have a question for Jim, but that's fine. If you have one, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to know, Jim, what do you foresee for the winter, for snowfall? Do you look at the weather channels and stuff like that and see what kind of snowfall we're going to have? Is it going to be heavy or?
We do. We tend to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Philosophically, we do have strong relationship with the National Weather Service, particularly out of White Lake. Early indications from Weather Service and NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. So they're talking federal meteorologists is probably looking at a wetter than usual winter. Whatever that means, we'll be prepared. And again, equipment will be ready. We have all of the winter maintenance materials that we need. We've got good plans. We will be participating in a virtual meeting. It's part of our annual Washtenaw County Snow Emergency Council, which is made up of all of the DPWs. Road Commission is a prominent part of that, emergency responders, the universities and so forth. In the event that we had a very severe storm event, we have a more collaborative plan to manage something like that. You think in terms of a blizzard like we had in 1978. So plans are in place, materials are in place. Right now, we do have a number of vacancies in the department, so we're working through adjustments in order to cover all of our snow routes. And at this point, we believe we can manage that. COVID is the X factor. So all striving to keep that out of the workforce and take care of each other. That, of course, could complicate things, but we're prepared to deal with that should that circumstance present itself.
Jim, that virtual meeting, is that just for, could commissioners attend that, or is that just for?
It's not, I don't believe it's an open meeting. I believe
Okay.
that's just that particular group.
Okay.
But I'm happy to present or brief you on that.
I would like that.
Sure.
So how many openings do you have, Jim?
Presently, I believe, I'm looking at my org chart, if you bear with me. Currently 6, and based on forecasted retirements, that number could climb by the end of the year to 10 or 11. But we do have some tricks up our sleeve in order to manage that. You can imagine if we were at full strength at any given time, employees could be off on annual leave for personal business and so forth. And so there's some latitude within the organization based on the pool of qualified drivers and operators to manage those occasional absences. This, of course, is a concern. We're not receiving applications to the degree that we would like or at all. I know that our human resource group, Nicole and Alicia, are working very hard to try to expand recruiting. I know that the board is taking that very seriously and tried to help us cast a broad net. And I appreciate that. Continue to encourage your assistance. We did receive an application today, and I did ask if we could interview that applicant. The person appeared to meet our minimum qualifications, so hopefully that will bear fruit for us.
Okay. And all your openings are truck driver openings?
Yes.
Any other questions for Jim right now?
Is it a pay scale issue, Jim?
I don't believe it is.
So all these openings are requiring the CDL Class A, right?
CDL Class A with an N endorsement. N endorsement is the tanker endorsement. Those instances where we're hauling a large volume of brine liquid, that endorsement is required.
I looked on the Michigan Works page, just the first 3 pages. And there are 47 openings for CDLs. So I'm wondering, is that part of it? Is it, you know, competition with other companies?
I believe that is part of it. Changes in law and benefits going back to 2012 put us in a position where we're not able to compete with private entities, perhaps as well as we may have in the past. We're competing amongst ourselves, meaning other road commissions, cities, villages, for perhaps a small applicant pool. I'm not certain that folks are looking to go into this line of work as compared to 10 or 15 years ago. I believe it is an excellent job, an excellent organization. I believe the pay and benefits are appropriate. There's security. So there's a lot of benefits to work for the Washtenaw County Road Commission. But it's expensive to live in our community. And I think that's a factor as well. Many of our applicants and new hires live on the periphery where the cost of living might be a little lower, property values, rent costs and so forth may be a little lower than in the county proper. So I don't have all the answers for that. I'm just hopeful that our recruitment is effective and we're able to find qualified drivers and operators and bring them on board.
Jim, it's not a requirement that they live in Washtenaw County, is it?
It is not. In fact, several years ago, that type of requirement was deemed unconstitutional. So it is not a requirement to reside in the county.
Okay.
They just have to report within 1 hour.
Right. Right, I understand. Now, how difficult is that N requirement? Is the N endorsement?
It's not difficult, Rod. That's about roughly a 20 question test. The challenges that I've heard from drivers is getting an appointment with the Secretary of State. I think service has improved, but I think there's still some delay with that because of COVID.
Right.
Well, so given this environment during COVID, I know that other organizations the state of Michigan has extended expired license, all these applications that are expiring, the CDLs, I saw that on this also, that are expiring because the state of Michigan cannot accommodate all the appointments that are necessary. I also know that it's not a matter of lowering standards, but is there not a training process that people can come on and get those as they're training along are there other things that we have to look at to consider? I mean, AT&T does that, other organizations do that. People are brought on and during their training period, apply for their CDLs. But even that, I see that as at this time during COVID is difficult. People can't get in to get tested.
It is.
For that.
With Commissioner Yamas, with our mechanics, and some of our recent hires, we've been able to make that accommodation, hire them and then do on-the-job training and assist them with securing the required CDL. But admittedly, they don't have to drive with regularity. That's a necessity, but it's not with regularity. For hiring heavy truck drivers, they must have that licensure. We want them to have that licensure and that qualification before we turn the keys of a $285,000 dump truck over to them and say, go out in horrible weather conditions and clear snow from the public road system. It's important that they have that baseline credential, that licensure, and hopefully some experience driving a commercial vehicle. That's very helpful. Admittedly, when they join us, very few of them have specific experience with what we do with a heavy truck. And a lot of what we do is labor as well. So there's certainly training to operate that piece of equipment in the way that we need them to operate it to be able to perform winter maintenance and learn those skills. Absolutely. But as a baseline, they've got to come with that credential, with that license.
So
Yep.
I
And
know
that's-
that you must have that credential for a specific weight amount for the truck.
Yeah.
Correct? And
Correct.
so that's the weight amount for all those vehicles. However, when people are newly hired, do you have them train with somebody else prior to just jumping in that truck?
We do. It depends on how much experience they have, of course. They're through the interview process, they make it to the second stage. There's actually a driving test that they perform with our superintendent and a foreman. Both they have to demonstrate competence with pre-tripping the equipment. Then they perform driving exercises here on our main yard property. We've set up a test course, and if things go well there, then they'll go out with the foreman, wearing masks under the current circumstances, and actually drive 6 to 10 miles on the public road system to further demonstrate their competence. And they're being evaluated by both the superintendent and the foreman throughout that second period of time, that second interview, if you will. And hopefully everything's good. We'll make an offer and bring them in. Once they join us, there is onboarding, orientation, foreman, senior driver will spend additional time with that driver operator to ensure that they're competent before they're basically allowed to operate independently or by themselves. So they could actually have a person in the cab, or they could have foremen behind them following in a pickup and communicating on the radio, on a private radio channel, to help guide them and assist them in learning the skills they need.
We've also had winter maintenance training that our superintendents have put on in the past. So we're trying to figure out a way to continue that training this year in light of the current situation that we're in right now as well. So they are receiving different forms of training throughout the year, depending on what activities we are performing as well. And then much of what we've been discussing as far as challenges with the number of applicants has also been pre-COVID. So I don't know that it's a matter of them not being able to get that endorsement through the Secretary of State's office at this point in time that has been holding up any of the applications. We were having this challenge prior to COVID as well.
Okay.
People expressing interest in applying for some of these positions, and I've encouraged them to go to the website. Certainly, I hope that the end endorsement is not something that keeps them from going further, because it's so difficult to get into the Secretary of State.
Commissioner Green, it's not. In fact, the applicant that we reviewed this morning has a CDLA, but does not have the N endorsement.
Okay.
We are moving forward with interview. We're interested in learning more about that applicant. If we get to the point of making an offer, that applicant may have secured that N endorsement by then, or we certainly reserve the right to condition the offer on them securing it within a specified period of time. We're sensitive to the situation with Secretary of State right now. Okay.
That sounds good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I believe I've mentioned this before, but I seriously believe that we need to lower the public's expectation. If we're going to be down 10 drivers potentially by the time the weather really goes off the rails, I think it's worth alerting the public that we will do everything within our power to perform at peak capacity, but we don't have peak capacity right now. And perhaps that would inspire them to look around in their own networks and nudge some people to apply. I just really worry that the public is going to be extremely angry if there's a delay that we have no control over. If you don't have the people to put in the trucks on the roads with adequate rest periods between shifts, there's going to be an impact. No reflection on your crews, Jim.
I would like to continue this conversation. The next board meeting, update the board on our status. We're working through those logistics now. My concern is being down, having vacant positions, and then the periodic and normal absences, and then COVID, that could be challenging. But I'm not pushing the panic button. We will work through and manage this no matter what. And we've been in challenging circumstances in the past due to vacancies and unreliable equipment. We have much more reliable equipment, but we have the vacancies and the pandemic. So not pushing a panic button, but I will certainly continue to update the board, and hopefully we'll see some applicants here over the next 2-week period, and we'll continue to make further progress backfilling these vacancies.
Okay, I trust your judgment.
Okay,
As always.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jim? All right, Matt?
Yes, a couple of active projects still yet going on. Pleasant Lake Road culvert replacement is ongoing. We expect the crane to come to the site, I believe, tomorrow and start placing the precast concrete box culvert. And then we'll be coordinating once installation and backfill is done with Mike Burnback, Operations Department, as they're managing the resurfacing of Pleasant Lake Road. We're hoping to accomplish that yet this year as well, having the good weather hold. And then over on Miller Road, the contractor completed the cofferdam sheeting, and that will allow the contractor to start pumping out the bridge area and start excavating and removing the existing bridge and preparing the for another concrete box culvert installation. There's a significant road work going on as well with the bridge replacement. We're in to correct some super elevation and modify the horizontal curve. So there's a significant amount of road approach work to that bridge that is going to take place as well. And again, we're hoping to complete that before weather turns here to the colder temperatures. So any questions on those projects? Otherwise, we're preparing for next year, of course. A lot of work going on underway, and getting underway with our budget and project list for next month. So looking forward to that conversation.
All right. Any questions for Matt? Or I'll turn it over to Dan.
Well, we are in the midst of budget season, as I'll call it, and I've been setting up all my spreadsheets, crunching lots of numbers, more numbers to crunch. Also set up my initial budget meetings with operations and engineering, so I look forward to those discussions. We'll probably have at least a couple of meetings on that. Also working with Emily, the budget presentation that we've had, we've been using for several years now, so we're going to revisit that and see if we can kind of spruce it up a little bit and make it even more meaningful for the commissioners as well as the members of the public. So it'll be very interesting to see what we can come up with on that. And also related to the budget, Chris Quinter and I will be meeting and talking about our IT needs for next year and putting some numbers to that and prioritizing that as well. So, and that's all I have unless there's any questions.
I have a question. I have a question, Dan. Go ahead, Barb.
Either one of you.
Go ahead, Barb.
Is Chris involved with operations as well? I'm thinking of the trucks and all the computerized features of those. I mean, how does all that work?
Not really. I mean, I think a lot of that falls on the mechanics, to be honest, Jim. I think they almost need to have a degree in engineering or in
Computer science.
Computer science. Thank you. Because there's so much electronics involved with that.
That's all managed through the shop and through our team of mechanics. And if necessary, we'll tap the vendors of that equipment as well.
Yeah, just like our own vehicles, you can't change the oil hardly anymore in a vehicle
Right.
these days with all the electronics that are in it. Just times that by about 20 and that'll be one of our new trucks.
Wow.
But Chris,
Gloria?
I think, is glad to not be have that added to his plate as well as everything else.
Gloria?
Oh, that was me that had the
Yeah,
Oh,
question.
I'm
Commissioner
sorry,
McCollum,
you're right.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Joanne.
That's okay. On page 48 of the AP check register, Fleet Pride, there was a void check and then a check written. Do you have to list all the void checks or?
On page 48.
Page 48 in
Let me
my
catch up with you
packet.
here. I believe what you're seeing is if we have several invoices that go into 2 check stubs, the first check will show as void. Because basically there's not enough room for it and we don't send 2 checks to them, we send 1 check, but all the detail goes into the second check, so the first one just gets voided. And that's how it would show up on here.
Okay. All right, not a accounting person, so.
Right, so there are probably 20, 30 invoices, separate invoices, and if it exceeds the capacity on that check stub, then automatically the system will void that first check, and then we're just sending 1 check to them, so the 2,402 includes things that would also be on the previous one, but that check just gets voided.
Okay.
It's something our system does, and it's a control. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And we would still keep all that with our documentation too.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dan? All right. Well, that's it from staff's perspective.
Do we want to touch base on the fix-it report? If only are there commissioners with questions about the WCRC fix-it report?
I just had a question about one of the descriptions. It's probably one of those miscellaneous descriptions, but it said something about road defects. What is, that could be what?
It's on the fix-it report, Joanne.
I thought it was. Maybe it was on something else, but I thought it was on the fix-it report. Let me see.
That's on page 54.
Call in. Oh, no, it was a call in.
Yeah.
So that doesn't get on the fix-it report or vice versa, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That could be a pothole.
Oh, okay.
It'd be some hazard or perceived defect in the surface of the road. So
Oh,
it could
okay.
be a pothole, it could be a big fissure, a crack, a heave of a concrete slab on concrete pavement. It could be any number of things.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, as much as possible with the fix-it report, we're trying to use terminology that people understand because that's how they would be reporting it. So something like a pothole or a traffic signal timing or an animal on the road, that type of thing, that's something that they can, it's more common terminology so that when they're submitting the request, they can understand how it's being categorized.
So is there a pecking order of districts? Where are most of the complaints coming from? Since this is ordered by number of requests, not by district number?
6 tends to win, which is poor Mike Masty, which is in the northeast part of the county, Northeast Service Center area. And that just seems to be an area that people are comfortable submitting, using that, the app or the online system for submitting. Mike does a fine job of keeping up. It's just that tends to be the district that gets the most requests. After that, it does sort of vary as far as the district and the type. If we've had a lot of rain, it'll be in a more rural area. It'll be gravel road type requests, obviously. And when we're going through springtime breakup, we're getting pothole requests all over the county. In this particular case, you can see number 1 was pavement marking and striping. That was a countywide request. That was primarily with all of the chip seal, fog seal that we had done. And I think that Brent and Matt have discussed in the past some of the challenges we had with getting that pavement marking contractor back in. There seems to be this almost defined period of time people are willing to wait before the pavement markings, and then all of a sudden they just start coming in fast and furious. But at this point in time, we've been able to get that paint down on the roads, which is obviously a good thing. So it does vary, but for whatever reason, District 6 does typically come out on top if you consider that being a winner.
I have a question. For the winter, like when residents are wondering, I hope you can't hear my dog in the background. The residents are wondering when their street is going to be plowed. You know, it may feel like it's been a while. Would they use the fix-it tool to report, my street hasn't been plowed, it seems like in a while, it needs to be plowed? Is that something we can direct people to?
You can. We may be grouping them depending on the actual event and where we are within an event. But certainly if they want to report it, they can either call it in, it'll get entered in through that system, or they can use this, the WCRC Fix-It itself. Any other questions? Anything else you would like me to address, Commissioner Fuller?
No, ma'am. I would, however, be willing to entertain a motion to adjourn. Someone would like to step up to that responsibility.
So moved.
I hear a motion.
Yes, you do.
That was from Barb. Gloria supports it.
Oh, goody. Been moved and seconded. Commissioner Fuller,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner McCullum,
Yes.
and Commissioner Fuller votes yes as well. We are adjourned.